Neighbours by Paula Spinelli and Eliana Romero. During the Tudors period from 1485 until 1603, English foreign policy changed several times. Henry VII had been careful to remain friendly with neighboring countries. He had built a large fleet of merchant ships. Henry VIII had been more ambitious, hoping to play an important part in European politics, but he was unsuccessful. He had spent money on warships and guns, making army the best in Europe. Mary I allied England to Spain by her marriage. This was unpopular and wise. Elizabeth I's foreign policy carried Henry VII's work much farther, encouraging merchant expansion. She recognized Spain as her main trade rival and enemy. Elizabeth helped the Dutch Protestants by allowing their ships to use English harbors from which they could attack Spanish ships and agreed to help them with money and soldiers. This was almost an open declaration of war on Spain. Elizabeth also encouraged the sea dogs, seamen like traders, pirates, and adventurers, to interrupt Spanish ships and gave her the gold, silver, and other treasure for the newly discovered continent of America. In 1587, Philip II, the Spanish king, decided to conquer England, supported by the Catholics. Philip built a great fleet of ships, an armada, to move his army across the English Channel. But Francis Drake, an English sea captain, attacked and destroyed part of his fleet in Cardiff Harbour. Philip started again, but their ships were not as good as English ships, which were longer and narrower, so they were faster and their guns could also shoot farther. So England won again. This war between Spain and England exists up to Elizabeth's death. The new trading empire. Another of Elizabeth's policies was based on colonies. She encouraged English traders to settle abroad and to create colonies. England began sailing West African slaves to work for the Spanish in America.
Wales, England and Wales. Henry VII was half Welsh and named his eldest son Arthur as Prince of Wales. When Arthur died abruptly, his brother Henry became King Henry VIII, who did not share his father's love of Wales. He wanted to make some changes because he wanted Welsh to become English. One example of the changes the king made was in the matter of names. English had been using family names for about 300 years, but the Welsh did not have family names. They used their own first name with those of their father and grandfather, using up, which meant son of. That's why their names were long and English find it difficult. From 1535, the English put pressure on the Welsh to use an English system of name by preventing them to use it in law courts and on special papers. By 1750, the use of Welsh names had almost disappeared. Between 1536 and 1543, Wales became joined to England under one administration. That meant that law was now the only law for Wales. English became the only official language, and Welsh soon only spoken in the hills. But Henry, the king, gave permission for a Welsh Bible to be printed, which became the basis on which the Welsh language survived. The introduction of schools using English almost destroyed these last 40s of Welsh culture. Although most people gave up speaking Welsh, poets and singers continued use it, bringing back a tradition which still continues today. Ireland. Early kings had allowed the powerful Anglo-Irish noble families to rule, but Henry VIII destroy their power. He persuaded the Irish Parliament to recognize him as King of Ireland, and he tried to make the Irish accept his English Church Reformation. But the monasteries and the church were still an important part of economic and social life, so Henry VIII failed to get what he wanted in Ireland. In fact, he made things worse by bringing Irish nationalism and Catholicism together against English rule. When his daughter Elizabeth I became queen in 1580, an Irish rebellion, which was encouraged by the arrival of a few Spanish and French soldiers, took place. It was in that moment when Queen Elizabeth's soldiers saw the rebellious Irish as wild and primitive people and treated them with great cruelty. After 4 wars, the Irish accepted Queen Elizabeth's authority and their religion. Their lands were taken and sold to English and Scottish merchants. The native Irish were forced to live or to work for them. This colonization destroyed much of Ireland's society and economy and did not make England richer. Scotland. The Scottish king avoided war with England, so they made a peace treaty with Henry VII. It was the first one with an English king since 1328, and because of that, James IV married Henry's daughter Margaret. But Henry VIII still wanted to rule Scotland, so in 1513 his army destroyed the Scottish army at Flodden. It was a terrible battle, and more than 20 Scottish nobles died. The battle increased the disagreement between those Scottish nobles who felt that Scotland should move towards a closer friendship with England and those who wanted to remain loyal to the old alliance with France. But Henry VIII reminded the Scots that it was dangerous to war against him, so he sent another army, and James was defeated and he died. That's why Henry hoped to marry his son Edward to the baby Queen of Scots, Mary. But the Scottish didn't like it, and they sent her to France, where she married the French king's son in 1558.
Mary of Scots was troubled by bad luck and wrong decisions. In 1561, she returned to Scotland. She was a queen and a widow. She was Catholic, but in France had become officially and popularly Protestant. The Scottish nobles who supported friendship with England had welcomed Protestantism for both political and economical reasons. The new religion brought Scotland closer to England than France. They established a new church, the New Kirk, that was more democratic organization than the English church, because it had no bishop and was covered by a general assembly. Education was important for everyone in Scotland. Protestantism had spread quickly through the Scottish university. Mary was careful not to give the Kirk any reason for actually opposing her. She made it clear she will not try to bring back Catholicism. Mary married to Lord Darley, a Scottish Catholic, but she allowed herself to agree to his murder and married the murderer, both well. Scottish society was shocked. Mary had shown very poor judgment. Her behavior probably destroyed her chance of inheriting the English throne. In 1568, she escaped from her Scottish opponent to England, where she was held by Elizabeth before she was finally executed.
James VI. He was Mary's son, and he started to rule at the age of 12. He showed great skill from an early age. He is remembered as a weak man and a bad decision maker, but this was not true. He rebuilt the authority of the Scottish crown after the disaster which had happened to his mother, grandfather, and great-grandfather. He brought the Catholic and Protestant nobles and also the Kirk under royal control. He was a firm believer in the authority of the crown, and he worked with a small council of ministers rather than parliament. In addition with it, he did not have the money or military power of the Tudors.
Thank you for watching our video, an illustrated history of Britain. England and Her Neighbours by Paula Spinelli and Eliana Romero.